Hello, and welcome to this video on the paradoxical Mediterranean and French diets. This is a colloquial term for the unusual lack of correlation between the stereotypically poor diets of these regions and the rate of cardiovascular disease. In this case, the French paradox is a more geographically discrete and specific example of the Mediterranean paradox. So science has generally asked the very genuine question of why are these diets special? Consider the advice given to most people regarding their diet. Small to moderate amounts of meat, low-fat food, high carbohydrate consumption, and plenty of fiber. Drink less and do not smoke. This leads to lower blood cholesterol, blood pressure, and negative lifestyle factors. This has a carry-on effect that reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, stroke, blood clots, and other issues related to your heart and arteries. This also leads to the paradox. The French and Mediterranean diets are comparatively heavy on wine, fats, oils, a lot of carbohydrates, and average fiber content. This comes from dairy such as cheese and oils like olive oil and rich meats. This rich and somewhat hedonistic lifestyle seems like it should cause an extreme example of population-level disease and death. Wine as an alcohol source causes prospective liver problems, digestive issues, blood clotting problems, the list goes on. These are generally considered avoidable lifestyle decisions that increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. The use of rich foods with a large amount of fats and oils creates issues with liver function and vascular disease. This is in the form of arterial plaques and fatty liver disease. The excess of carbohydrates should cause obesity issues, which are directly associated with further mortality and morbidity. So why is this not the case? There is no cardiovascular disease epidemic like in the UK and USA. Blood pressure and related issues are not as pronounced as with other developed nations, barring some Asian countries. Their death rate, due to such non-communicable diseases, is lower than most others. France is actually a country with low cardiovascular disease incidence and mortality. So why is there no association with cardiovascular disease when such poor diet and lifestyle decisions are dominant culturally and in their food? There are several ideas purported to be the reason behind this, and this redress to the seemingly poor diet decisions content. One reason given is wine. To quote Ferriers in 2004, a superficial investigation of the lifestyles of South European countries, characterized by low cardiovascular disease incidence, confirms wine as one of their common identifying elements. The gist of the findings across research on this has been that moderate and regular alcohol intake increases high-density lipoproteins, and that these clean up the unwanted low-density lipoproteins. These low-density lipoproteins are generally responsible for cardiovascular disease. By contrast, other nations tend to binge drink and not follow the same sort of patterns when looking at alcohol consumption. This is further expanded upon by Ferriers, to quote, "In vitro inhibition of low-density lipoprotein oxidation by flavonoids derived from red wine has been demonstrated in men. In consumption of red wine with meals reduces the susceptibility of human plasma and low-density lipoprotein to lipid peroxidation. Red wine contains a variety of phenols derived from grape skins. In free-living subjects, concentrations of catechin in plasma was threefold higher in a diet with fruit and vegetables but without wine than a diet without fruit, vegetables, and wine, and fourfold higher than in the latter diet in a diet with red wine but without vegetables and fruit. It seems that red wine and the Mediterranean diet may confer an additional protective effect." End quote. As you can see from that quote, even having no fresh fruit, no fresh vegetables, but having access to red wine provided a protective benefit, which is seen particularly in older peasant meals, where wine was a major factor, but fresh fruit and vegetables may not have been. But this leads to a rather interesting contradiction in and of itself. This research has largely left the baseline of the healthy lifestyle decisions amongst the French population unaccounted for. Despite their generally poor health decisions, they remain relatively healthy overall, culturally, This is covered in greater detail in the linked article from The Independent, who takes the exact opposite argument, that the French diet isn't healthy at all, and that the paradox doesn't exist because it's healthy, but that it's thought to be healthy when it is not. Thank you for watching this video. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions you may have below.